Hello, friends, and welcome. Twice I have tried to film down by the Mississippi, and 2 times it hasn't worked. I will try again, but I'm doing it in my trusty old backyard to make sure I get you a 20-minute video this week. Moving with the water element, I'm going to make a shorter version of what we did, kind of a combination of last week and this week. So we're going to start in child's pose. As the other ones have listed the longer versions. If you have sensitive knees, we are going to do a sequence on our hands and knees and with child's pose. So it might not be the sequence for you. You might find another one to do. Otherwise, if it feels okay, hips can still be high. A blanket can be behind the knees, but you want it to feel okay to start in child's pose. And I'm going to stack my head, stack my hands and put my head on that. So my head is a little high so you can hear me better. And I do apologize ahead of time. My allergies started kicking last night, so I probably have a lot of raspiness, and I might have a sneeze or a cough or two. As you start to settle down into your child's pose, just noticing what to notice. We've got that gross body, that tangible body, but we've worked a lot in the past few months. We're starting to tune into the subtle body, or what I'll call our energetic body. Tune into as much of it as you can. And we're going to start with a really simple, subtle move here, assuming your joints are okay with it. You're just going to let your hips sway a little bit right and left. They're still going to stay whatever height they are, right? Meaning we're not doing full circles yet, which we will be doing soon. But right now it's just a little swaying back and forth just to begin to wake up the hips, the knees, even affecting the ankles. And then leave your hips center, walk your hands forward till your elbows lift, and then walk back and forth between walking over to the right and reaching that left arm forward and away, and then just kind of page over to the left. Doesn't have to have a super specific rhythm, but we're not holding so much at this point in time anyway, as we are just kind of gently walking and sliding back and forth. The next time that you walk over to the right, let's meet over there. And once you get over there, we're going to bring that left hand into training wheel, I often call it, right? It's like a training wheel on a bike, and you're going to push into the hand, the right hand, and let the ribs roll a little towards that arm, right? Or up towards the sky, I could say, and then unroll the ribs, so to speak. So rotating gently through the rib basket, and then de-rotating. And maybe one more time, do that again. And then lift your body up just a little bit. You're going to take your right hand, you're going to slide your right hand under your left arm and then move into a twist in the opposite direction. If you can set down the right side of the head, please do. Pause. If you feel like you need to bring this to the center of the mat, please do. Every time I teach, I always say, not that I say this every time, but I believe that anytime you take a class, come back to center. If you want to come out early, you can. If you want to stay longer and linger, you can. Walk over to the left, bring that left hand out, make that training wheel arm. And again, I'm going to push into my left fingertips or hand, rotate my ribs a little to the left, and then de-rotate them, right? And do that about 3 times or so. Just starting to play with gently moving through the spine. And then I'm going to come up a little bit and walk my right hand back to get the left hand under and reach, and then set down. I can set my right arm and soften that down too. I can keep it active like a downward dog. It's slightly over to the left. I could bring it back to center. So many options, right? Find the one that works for you. Soften the head to the ground if you can, or just at least soften the neck. And walk yourself back to center. So the next piece looks like this. You're going to stretch your arms out, elbows lift. You're going to let your hips sway over to the right, but this time you're going to lift the whole body up and move it forward and then over the wrists to a modified plank, and then swing it over to the left, the hips, the body, right, and back to child's pose. So you're just doing a big old circle. You could think about it being with your hips or your entire torso or whatever works for you thought pattern wise. And then when you're in a safe place to do so and you're ready, go ahead and switch. Your hips will swing over to the left and you'll move forward to the modified plank and then they'll move over to the right. So you're just reversing the direction of the circle. We're going to flow a lot with that water element. So, if you're ever like, I don't know if I look like that, A, get out of your head. B, feel it out and then just start to move in a way that feels beneficial. It doesn't have to be what I'm doing. Come back to child's pose, come down. If you're keeping your body safe and it feels beneficial, flowing is the name of the game today. Noticing your body. Here we are in child's pose again. Has anything shifted or changed? And for the next one, lift the body up enough that you can bring the knees into hip distance, the feet out to hip distance, then come back to child's pose. So it's just a modification of child's pose, right? And then you're going to go ahead, you're going to inhale up into cat around the spine, looking back towards my belly button. And then I'm going to unwind my spine to neutral as I bend the elbows, moving them in and back into a modified plank to the belly. Inhale up into low cobra. And then I'll tone my belly up, bring my upper body down a little bit, pull back, straightening the arms. So through a half push-up, essentially, back in a downward dog. I'll do that one more time just in case. Inhale into cat, rounded spine. And then lengthen the spine as you end the elbows, bend the elbows back and bring your belly down towards the ground. Inhaling into your upper back bend, low cobra, and then exhaling back, really tone the belly. If you need to come down to forearms to do that, that is okay, right? I'm here if you need to see me. Try and do that, I don't know, 1 to 3 more times, depending on your breath. Try to match each half breath, I'll call it, right? Each stage of the breath to a cycle of movement. Not worried about moving fast, but with the water element, we really want to savor. And the other word I love is luxuriate. The next time that you're down on your belly, stay down. If you need to use move the blanket under your knees, you can, but if it's okay, we won't be here long, right? Inhale up into low cobra. And then from there, you're going to go ahead and you're just going to see if you can move your right ear to the right shoulder and left ear to the left shoulder. So I'm staying in low cobra. I've got my belly pulled up to protect my low back. And I'm focusing on bringing that flow quality, that element into my neck. Maybe you let your chin move down towards the collarbone, past the sternum to the other collarbone, just moving the neck, the head, I should say, in any direction that feels okay and safe and beneficial. And then go ahead and come back to neutral neck, elongated neck, right? And then you're going to go ahead and see if you can lift up into upward dog. Now you can stay in low cobra, that's okay. Otherwise, straighten the arms. If it feels okay, tone the belly up for the low back protection. And then instead of looking down, look forward. Try to move your shoulder blades down your back and find the chest opening. And maybe you sway your right shoulder a little forward and then your left shoulder. Again, be so gentle and slow with this stuff to make sure you do not hurt anything. And then make your way back to child's pose one more time. You can widen the knees out. And again, I just want to hit this one more time just so you can kind of get a sense of where you started, where you were the second time we were here, and here we are the third time in child's pose. And as always, non-judgmental experiencing, right? So we're simply observing. We're not judging what we observe to the best of our ability today at this moment in time. Okay, moving out up in a downward dog. So stretch those arms out, plant those palms down, and inhale, come on up in a downward dog. Now for this first downward dog, bring that gentle flowing, that spontaneous movement, authentic movement, quality of water, whatever you want to call it. Move in any direction, bend any joint, straighten any joint, move in any way. And with this work, friends, I like to close my eyes. It helps me not think about like what I look like, the precision of the pose, like any of that stuff. On days like this, when we're working with water element, we're releasing that and we're playing with that kind of spontaneous flow. Come on back to neutral, I'm going to call it, or a more traditional or classic Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward dog. And then if it's okay, lift the right leg up. You could do this from hands and knees, by the way, if this feels like too much weight in your shoulders, and play with that right leg in the socket. You can straighten the leg, you can bend the leg, you can move the toes and play with the ankle. You can move the knee around so that the femur moves in the joint. You can lift the hips and stretch, whatever feels great. Do that one, right? Well, I don't know about great, whatever feels beneficial is the word I usually use. If you want a little heat, you can move forward towards half plank and you can move the knee into, past, around by the elbows, right? And that starts to build a little bit of heat and a little bit of core work for you. Not necessary, only if you want it. Depends on your environment and your day. Set the right foot down, bring the left leg up, and again, you're just going to kind of move that leg around the knee, the ankle, the toes. Just move in whatever way feels like it's helping to get your joints more lubricated, hydrated, right? We're playing a lot today with the fascia. That's the connective tissue. We're trying to hydrate it and get it so that it doesn't adhere to ligaments, tendons, muscles, things like that, that it's over, that it covers. Bring that left foot down, inhale, and exhale down, child's pose. So if you can't tell, child's pose is really going to be our main blueprint pose today. If you're brand new to me, all I mean by blueprint is we come back to a pose throughout the class, and it gives us a way to just kind of see if anything has shifted or changed when we come to the same pose. We might notice physical things, but it doesn't have to be the physical body. It can be the breath, wills, emotions, instincts, thoughts, attitudes, perspectives, beliefs. Right? All of these things are part of us. So come on up. Move your hands back by your knees and come on up. I just want to say we're going to move into pigeon pose, which looks something like this, right? And I'll bring my hips down a little bit. If you're like, no way, Jose, your option is to do the same thing, right? From your back. And you can always straighten the leg or leave it bent or play with it in that way. So that's your modification. My friends who it's available for to do pigeon, come in a downward dog. So now you're going to meet me. Inhale the right leg up, and when you exhale, bring that knee forward towards the right wristish, but leave the heel back today towards the pubic bone. And just go ahead and just start to move the body a little bit, assuming this is okay with your joints, the hips a little bit back and forth from right to left, like we did in the beginning, the very first thing we did when we started to move our child's pose around, right? Come back to center. And by the way, I forgot to say, you can put blocks or blankets underneath hips if this feels like it makes it more manageable or more beneficial, right? Or lay on your back. And then still the hips and let your head move around again in whatever capacity feels like it's helping and opening the neck. Lubricating is the word I want to use there, actually, not helping, opening. I mean. Come back to center. Now we're going to do big circles. Walk your hands a little forward. You're going to let your left shoulder move towards your right wrist and maybe even look over your right shoulder, and then swing the right shoulder down towards that wrist and then swing over towards the left wrist. You're basically just doing big circles, right? Again, don't add the movement in if it feels like too much. Make the movement smaller if you want some, but you see me doing something bigger and that's not right for you, etc. Come on back to center. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to try to come forward and hold in stillness a little bit. So you've got the option of blocks being underneath forearms coming down towards the ground, right? Forehead can come down to your hands or a block or whatever you would like. But knowing we're going to be here for about 4 breaths, support yourself so that you feel like it's a place, not that you can, manage and suffer through, but a place where you can feel the stretch, but not so much your body feels like it's got to protect you. And we're going to come up out of this. I like to put my hands by my knee-ish and lift my hips first and kind of wiggle back and take your time, take your time. Downward dog. My friends who are laying on the back, you can get up to come in a downward dog, or you can just do the downward shape with your arms over your head and your heels up to the ceiling. And then you don't have to do quite so much movement. Right? Inhale the left leg up, and when you bring it forward, knee towards left wrist-ish. Again, we're going to leave our heels back today, not towards the front of the mat, which I sometimes teach. I don't teach pigeon a lot because if we do it a lot, it can be, and you're doing it without proper alignment in the knee, it can be really hard on knees, right? So, but if with this shin back, we should be okay. If you're not, lay on your back, not a big deal. Let the hips just gently sway to side to side. If you're on your back, you could do reverse that and let your legs move from side to side and still get this feeling. Pardon me, that's my allergies. And then still the hips. Feel free to put a block or a blanket underneath the left hip. Right? Maybe the head moves in some capacity. How? I don't know. Close your eyes. Feel your body. What feels like it's a way to move it that feels beneficial. Hands are slightly forward. I'm going to let my right shoulder drop down towards my left wrist, and I'm going to look over my left shoulder. And then maybe go ahead and swing the body around through circles. Or again, it doesn't have to look like mine. You're just moving the body in some capacity. That feels like it's lubricating the body, cooling the body, right? And cooling more in attitude and our thoughts and those things than in body temperature is what I mean by that. Coming back up. And if it's okay for you to move forward, please do. Remember, blocks can be wonderful tools here under forearms, under foreheads. Find a place where you can live for a few breaths without forcing the body into anything. Get to the point where you are so intimate with your body that you hear its language, that you know it's saying, if you do this, you're going to pay for it later in this way. And, I rarely think that in this instance, that's worth it. No reason to make our bodies suffer. Come on up gently onto your hands. One more time with downward dog. Again, I move so slowly transitioning out of this. I like to lift my hips, move my right knee up a little bit, and then move my left leg. Downward dog, or you could do a couple hands, knees, cat, cow, or you could do a child's pose. But my friends, who it's available for and feels all right in that downward dog, just lengthen out the back side of the body as much as you can, including the backs of the knees, since we just had them kind of compressed and folded in. Last time, child's pose. Pause and just notice. And again, I think the most accessible for most people is the physical body. And I think that's a great place. I check into my physical body every day, multiple times a day. I'm not saying don't do that once you advance your practice. Please do, but then add into it the subtle body, right? So maybe you notice hips are closer to heels, or there's pain in the knee, or whatever the things might be, right? And then notice, when I first got on my mat, I was really grumpy. I'm less grumpy. When I first got on my mat, I was really happy. Now I'm feeling, dull, like, I don't know, discontented, or I don't know. What are those things? No judgment on it. Hopefully, this practice, right, along with meditation and all the other bits and pieces, help lead us to the point where we accept all that is as it is, including ourselves. Bring your body up. And if kneeling is okay, just come into a kneeling. We won't be here long. If you'd rather sit cross-legged, please do. But do find the most elongated spine you can anyway. Bring those hands together in front of the heart. Inhale. Wow, thank you, beautiful body, for all that you do. I sure do appreciate you. Namaste. May you be well, friends. May all beings everywhere be well, no exceptions.